was It's Not Easy Being Green. We enjoyed showcasing a snapshot of the large number of green initiatives that are taking place across our small community. One of the excellent activities that we promoted at the ball, and that Esther will be talking about tonight, that is occurring in a number of local farms, is habitat restoration. The Watch Group, Falklands Conservation's youth membership group, assisted with one of the days of planting that occurred this year. Those members of the Watch Group that took part in this planting were able to gain their Tussock Habitat Restoration badge. The first badge available in the Watch Group's new award scheme introduced this year. Learning from and inspiring future generations about nature is one of Falklands Conservation's key areas of work. The award scheme has been set up to provide a progressive learning scheme giving them the chance to earn trips to see the amazing wildlife that the Falklands Islands has to offer. One badge that the Watch Group will have the chance to earn is their cetacean badge. They will no doubt be interested in the work done by Falklands Conservation on satellite tracking of southern right whales. In addition, this work is the first time anyone has recorded their breeding songs in Falklands waters. I thought that was the same whales, wasn't it? That the breeding songs were all.
This is a trick question.
I'm correct, am I? Oh, okay. Just showing you that I do read these things. During the lead up to the elections last year, the group made their own video in which they recorded themselves asking, I'm not sure I should read this, asking candidate MLAs, including me, what they would do to support nature if voted in. 1 year on, they have now met with all of us as elected candidates to find out what we have achieved. This is an invaluable interaction for young people and elected representatives alike, and I would say that my colleagues as MLAs found it really, really inspiring talking to the Watch Group, and they really were fantastic, and the kids there do wonderful work, and they have a real vision of the future of the islands, and I think, you know, we need to do more interactions with groups like the Watch Group, because it's fantastic. I think MLA's got as much out of it, hopefully. You probably got more out of it than the kids did. They really, really enjoyed the event, and it was well run, and thank you very much for that. So I'd like to say thank you for everyone for their efforts over the year for the benefit of Falklands nature. So thank you very, very much indeed. And I'd just like to say thank you to Esther and her team. I mean, they've been absolutely fantastic. The work that we do, as you'll see in the magazines, etc., I mean, it really is a credit to the organisation. I'm always immensely proud to be associated with Falklands Conservation. I think I'm very, very lucky to have been the chair during this period, and I'm sure the other trustees would back that up as well. I think we've seen a real impetus in the organisation and some really, really useful work that's getting done. So without further ado, I shall close the general meeting and hand over to Esther to do her presentation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Roger. Yes, just I'd like to say, as part of this, the ending of the AGM, the things that you mentioned in your report there was, as said, in all part due to all my fabulous colleagues. So Sorrel, who ran the charity ball this year, took over the last minute last year, but this year ran it all herself with everyone supporting, but she really did a fabulous job. She was also very much a part in delivering on the green election this year. The work that she did behind that was fabulous, and the work that Glenn has taken forward from that in terms of the Watch Group and developing the new Watch Group Awards. And it's wonderful to have Alicia and Howard here this year, who are from the UK. So Alicia, who runs all our membership activities in the UK and all sorts of other things that are involved in running a UK office, especially through COVID and all the things that happened through that. And Howard, who has been now started as a volunteer for us, which is fabulous. So we're really grateful for his inputs. As a couple, we are extremely grateful as an organisation to have that support. Welcoming tonight Vanessa, who is our newest person. It's wonderful to have Vanessa here tonight, her first AGM. And Pammy, and so Mark, who was with us, Mark McLeod, we said goodbye to Mark this year. And he was being a great teacher to you, Vanessa, taking you forward and things, which is fabulous. And Pammy, of course, as always, has kept everyone going, trying to hand over lots of things and to get all the finances done and all the many things that are involved in her role. So everything that happens in the sort of back office is so important. And other members of the team who aren't able to be here, Grant, Grant particularly, who has done a lot of the work I'll be talking about tonight, and Andy as well, who are both unwell, who do a huge amount of work on all of our areas of work, as well as also Ross, who unfortunately was going to be giving this talk, which it would have been much better, and I'm sorry it has to be me, but he unfortunately is in the UK because of family issues, so we're really sorry not to have him because we really wanted to hear from him particularly of his work. And other members of the team, Emma's unfortunately not here, but we're grateful for all the work that she's done over the year in terms of on marine work. Caroline, we mentioned as well in here, who's done some fabulous work with SAE and Southern Right Wales. Who else have we missed? David, who's gone out on out continuing his restoration work, habitat restoration work. Anyone else? Jenny, of course. So Jenny and Tim Stenning, who are out on New Island, and you guys have just come back from New Island to see all the work that's happening there.
Very eye-opening, it's great. Because obviously, kind of do the trustee meetings in the UK, get the minutes and everything, and obviously read everything that's going on out there, but actually to go out there and see it, and I didn't realise how much diversity of wildlife there was there, despite invasives. So, if that goes ahead, then it's going to be, who knows where it's going to go. But the work that Jenny and Tim are doing, the logistics of everything, to get it all sorted, it's really amazing. So it's a great experience.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's great. Then there's Pammy, yes?
Amanda,
and so Amanda has joined us just part-time at the moment to do some of the seabird work, and she's just finishing her PhD, so she's not here tonight, but so she's on a super deadline for that. Anyone else? Yes, well, you all have to put up with me all the time. But I would also like to thank all my wonderful trustees here and in the UK who continue to provide support, particularly Roger. Thank you for all the time that you put in behind the scenes. And of course, last but not least, is volunteers and members. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for your continued support. We couldn't do it without you. And we benefit from all your inputs in whatever way that is. They're all very different inputs, but we really appreciate it. So thank you. Without any further ado, as I said, all the work that happens is my colleagues, and so I'm standing here and representing you all, so thank you. Right, so, Island Stewardship, Opportunities and Challenges. As we know, this picture, this was a picture sent to me from Keith Alazia, who's sending me lots and lots of pictures of him out and about on his bikes on really sunny days, making me very jealous. But in addition to that, he's pointing out what we're all seeing, which is a lot of drying happening everywhere. And obviously that's been happening for a while now.
nice.
Yes. Do you want to just say that again?
Yeah, Sally was just saying, where is it? I think it's like an island.
No, it's very nice, yes. Yeah.
It's just such a great name as well.
If you're correct, it's Lagoonese, yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So yes, so there it is. And so in our strategy, in our Falklands Conservation Strategy, we have a 5-year plan, and our goals within that, we've got some very strong goals around restoration. That's both the fact that increased restoration is such an important thing to be doing, happening in all sorts of different ways. Everyone has different ways that they're doing it. we're supporting those who can do that on their own land, but also as Falklands Conservation we recognise we need to do the same. We have to do as much as we can, but all the efforts are significant towards it. In terms of trying to stabilise land in any form possible, and it's all very well for us to do all we can do our best, and what I want to talk about tonight is our long-term vision. It's not just 5 years, we're talking 250 years when we come to look at some of the sort of impacts and activities that happened on the land in the Falklands. We really need to have a long-term view and a long-term commitment. So we have been fortunate over the years as Falklands Conservation to be given a number of different islands. We're at about 23 at the moment. We have people who have given in the room tonight, either given or assisted in giving us islands, or assisted in supporting funding and doing the work that needs to happen. So we've I'm going to just mention tonight New Island, Middle Island and Motley Island, just as some examples of work that my colleagues are doing. They're all very different stories, but they've got the same sort of theme to them, and it's about having stewardship of land is no small responsibility, and as Falklands Conservation we take that responsibility very seriously, and we've done an assessment of all our islands, and we've sort of looked at which are the ones that are the most damaged. Slightly depressing way to look at it. But we have some fabulous islands, but we also have some very challenged islands. And so we're trying to focus our efforts on the ones that really need it. Now this very complicated slide is obviously not mine, because I wouldn't understand half of it, but it's Grant's. And but what it's basically showing is that these little speckly bits here is the planting that we've been doing on Motley Island, supported by EU BEST funding. And Frin worked on that very hard, and now Grant's working on it specifically. So you can see here these little dots, which are the tussock that we've been planting. So this is obviously just Falklands Conservation's approach to how to deal with erosion and restoration. Now it's basically showing things that we all know, but it's just quite handy to see it in a... hello Farah, lovely to see you. You're early, we're just, you know... So we're talking about Motley Island, and we're just talking about the planting that's been going on with the EU BEST funding. So we can see the little dots going on here. And basically what we've been seeing, and what we're all seeing, is that it's not just the problem of erosion around where the bogs are, that once the sun starts beaming down on here, they're not close enough to keep any moisture, and then the wind comes and it starts blowing away. So it's not just a problem here, it's a problem over here. All the soil and the wind-blown peat starts covering up other areas nearby. So we all know that, but once it slightly feels like just pushing back a wall of water. And so the work that's been happening is trying to plant along that leading edge to try and stop it going any further. So you're kind of dealing with a situation that is on the move all the time. So one thing is trying to deal with planting and planting closer and closer as you can, and the other thing is trying to stop all the blowing peat going into the next areas. And the same with peat and with sand. So these ones are basically just showing where the sand then blows across and smothers anything that's trying to grow nearby. So you've not just got the leading edge, you've got everything that is then getting smothered beyond that. Something we all know, but just quite helpful to see it on our own islands and look at what we're trying to do to deal with that. We can see Grant's very nice pictures here showing what there was before. So this was in August 2021, and this gets burning hot, and anything that might be wanting to start growing there is fried. Starting to get planting, This is 5 months later, this one down here, the third one down, and 8 months later. So it's really nice to see that, isn't it? It's really nice to be able to see that. It's not always the case. Obviously, you might come down back in a year's time and it will have all, some of it won't be working, but some of it will. And it's basically, we've got to do what we can. So the next one is, yes, so those were, oh sorry, that was also showing another example in a slightly different area on Motley. And some of you came and did the efforts of the planting, so we do appreciate your support. And this is EU best funded, but Georgia Seafoods obviously also supported our work on Middle Island. I'm not particularly focusing on that in those pictures, but just to say how grateful we were for that support as well. So this is showing the same situation and the same as what we're trying to do on Middle Island, which is trying to deal with that leading edge, get the stuff in the ground, and hope this is what we're wanting to see more of. It's obviously hugely labour intensive. Once you got to that stage, you're just in it for the long term. So I guess this is what we're saying. Our Falklands Conservation is committing to the long term. It is a long-term vision, and that commitment and support is not easy to continue. So we do appreciate those of you who are sitting here tonight, who help us a lot. Now on New Island, we're very fortunate to have merged with the New Island Conservation Trust 2 years ago now, and if Ross was here, he'd be talking more about his project, but so I'm going to be talking sort of a little higher level on that. We all know where New Island is. If we've been fortunate enough to be there, we feel very fortunate to be responsible for New Island now, but we also know that that is a big responsibility. New Island has fabulous wildlife, incredible heritage. Everyone's got a story from New Island, from parents, grandparents, visits, and so now it's on our shoulders what we do with that. We recognise that there is incredible wildlife in terms of thin-billed prions, one of the best sites in the world, huge array of wildlife represented on New Island, and also just a really nice place to go visit. In terms of what we're seeing on New Island, I think we all know the other bits of New Island, which is what happens with 250 years of overgrazing. There's been various different sort of chapters of the usage of New Island over the years in terms of sealers and whalers and historic overgrazing and invasives starting, and each one is like another kind of hit in the face of New Island's nature. So some of the things that also, obviously we don't have any cobs wren there due to having invasives, and it's, as you know, it's got the four different invasives, rats, cats, mice and rabbits. There we are, thank you. So good having a team who know my shortfalls. Mike, you were out there, weren't you, on this, helping with doing some of this early work on this. So yes, if it wasn't enough to have climate change doing all its worst and the erosion, we've also got invasives. So it's sort of there are just so many different elements that are just hitting away at New Island and its ability to hold nature. And so we are doing our best. The team and our supporters have been looking at how to improve the runway, because obviously we need to underpin our conservation work with having